Hey, everybody, welcome to the Sky Lounge podcast, episode number 216. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Follow me at the Sky Lounge on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Music. And also check out the Sky Lounge on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Without any further ado, let's get shit started with episode number 216, the return of the Warriors on ice, NHL restart preview / educated guessing, and yes, bitches. I meant to air this episode out yesterday on Monday, but I needed a day off. I took a day off, and now I'm back, refreshed and revitalized and raring to go. And when we say rear, I'm about to blast your fucking ass with sports ball. Wet blast, Spider-Man style. But more specifically, it's all about hockey right now. Hockey! NHL. As we're just a couple of hours away from the first exhibition match for the NHL restart. And so many things just going through my head right now. But I mean, the fucking craziest part is hockey's back. Hockey's back. And we can make predictions and educated guesses as to what's going to fucking happen. Now, here's the thing. And the reason why I call predictions educated guesses. Because no matter how many fucking years / decades you watch a sport, you will never know the exact outcome nor the exact scoreline unless you had some sort of fucking script, which will be an indication that a system is rigged, and that would be a cause for another episode completely, and we could have an entire fucking symposium to talk about that shit and the illegalities of gambling within sports and entertainment and all this fucking shit. But no, we got sports ball. We got hockey. We got this NHL restart. We got the fucking playoffs. And boy, howdy, we can go ahead and put some fucking guesses up. Because we don't know what the fuck is going to happen. I certainly don't know what the fuck is going to happen. So I am putting my fucking guesses out there, aka my fucking opinions. And guess what, motherfuckers? If you don't agree with these opinions, you can voice them out. You can fucking type all that shit out there like the angry fucking keyboard warriors. But I'm not really going to give a shit. Because with sports, like, I just want to see it. Like, I'm going to say my shit, but then actually watch what happens. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'll admit it afterwards. But right now, we haven't even started. So I'm about to start it for you with these educated guesses. Now, what we start off with in the educated guessing cycle is award winners, which nominees were announced within the last 2 weeks. And so I want to go ahead and name the winners of these awards, who I think is going to win, and the other nominees that probably won't win if my opinion holds and the winners that I picked wins. Simple, right? Kind of simple, but I had to over-explain that for whatever reason. There you fucking go, kids. You're goddamn welcome. So, award winners, and we'll go by category here. The Ted Lindsay Award, Leon Draisaitl of Edmonton, and your runner-ups will obviously be McKinnon and Panarin. The Calder Memorial Trophy, I believe, goes to Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche, while Hughes and Kubalik follow right behind him. The Jack Adams Award, I believe, Elena Vigneault is. I don't know how to fucking say his name still. But the head coach of the fucking Philadelphia Flyers, I believe, will win the Jack Adams Award, followed by Cassidy and Tortorella. The Bill Masterton Trophy, Oscar Lindblom, prolific cancer, news. But yeah, I mean, Johns and Ryan obviously has a lot of, persevering stories that we should all strive for, to better ourselves, right? But yeah, I think Oscar Lindblom is touted for that, that award and trophy this season. So let's move on to the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy, where I think Ryan O'Reilly of the St. Louis Blues will get that shit no problem, following Nathan McKinnon and Austin Matthews. The Vezina Trophy, Connor Hellebuyck, Winnipeg Jets, incredible stuff, incredible season. And you're going to have your fellow nominees in Tuukka Rask and Vasilevsky just looking at that shit, and maybe they win it, but I honestly would say Connor Hellebuyck. Then you got the Selke, who I think it's going to go to Sean Couturier of the Philadelphia Flyers. And you have Bergeron and O'Reilly, but there's something about Philadelphia. I feel they got that it factor for whatever reason. And you'll follow that up with the Norris Trophy, who I believe the winner is going to be John Carlson of the Washington Capitals, followed by Hedman and Yossi in the nominations. Then your Hart Trophy, I think, goes to Leon Draisaitl. I think what Leon Draisaitl has been able to do in a team with Connor McDavid is absolutely incredible. And yeah, you have amazing candidates in McKinnon and Panarin. But yeah, that's your award winners, who will be announced, I believe, before the conference finals. But that I could be wrong with too. But guess what, motherfuckers? I'll live and die with that shit. I will. Because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if I'm right, cool. I was right. And this is the same fucking thing that we're going to put a preface on and put that mentality for these guesses, right? The play-in round, the round robin, round 1, round 2, conference final, Stanley Cup final. And yes, boys and girls, if you are watching it from the YouTube side, I actually do have a board ready with all the fucking results I think is going to happen to individual components of this restart. Now, for the audio version, I'm going to fucking narrate it along for you motherfuckers, because I know how you don't like visuals. So let's go ahead and talk about the play-in round, where teams have to play a best-of-5 series to get into the playoffs, whereas you have the top 4 seeded teams in the round robin who have to play 3 games each, regular season style, to determine seeding. So this is just a do or die mentality, which I absolutely love. And with hockey, I mean, the physicality, the fucking ice aspect, it just adds to it. So I'm ready for that intensity. And with that said, let's talk about what I believe is going to happen in the Western Conference play-in, which I don't know if you can see this on the fucking video, boys and girls, but if you can zoom in, you can. If you can't, my bad. But I'll go ahead and talk about this shit from the first matchup between the Edmonton Oilers and the Chicago Blackhawks, which I believe is going to come down to Edmonton winning it 3-2. Now, lots of question marks between these two teams, right? But I think the offensive power of Edmonton just outmatches Chicago. Then you have the Nashville Predators taking on the Arizona Coyotes, and I believe the Coyotes will take that series 3-2. Maybe it's the whole thing with John Chayka leaving the squad, and they have a little bit more fire inside their bellies, but I got a feeling Arizona's going to fucking eke that shit out. Really close game, really close series. And you're going to follow that up with the Vancouver Canucks taking on the Minnesota Wild. And yeah, I have the Canucks sweeping the Wild. Because I just don't have any confidence in the Wild. I feel like they just kind of lucked themselves in there. I know Chicago gets a lot of fucking flack for that, but I could kind of feel the same way for Minnesota. Now, again, feel. Not a stats nerd, not an analytics nerd, just my fucking feels out there. But I think Vancouver's got momentum. I think they got the fucking juice to get shit done. And I say sweep, 3-0. And that leaves us with the final Western Conference play-in matchup against 2 Canadian teams who, I mean, we're going to have a good time watching these 2 fucking clubs go against each other within the Calgary Flames and the Winnipeg Jets. And yes, I think the Jets, with Connor Hellebuyck, wins this series 3-1. And so let's talk about the round robin for the Western Conference. And please, boys and girls, make sure my motherfucking math is right, because I don't, sometimes I make mistakes. And if I make mistakes, I want you to fucking tell me. Right? But the one mistake I don't think I'm going to make here, and again, huge fucking asterisk, is St. Louis winning the round robin and taking top seeding. I think the talent is there. I think they are just filled with depth all over. And they could get They could get it. And they got Lord Bennington. Did people forget that shit? Come on now. And David Perron. Come on now, baby. Come on now. And I think they follow. They follow within the Colorado Avalanche at second place with a 2-1 record, followed by the Vegas Golden Knights at 1-1-1. And yeah, I think that weird overtime loss is going to happen. Maybe because of a defensive lapse, but I just see one weird loss happening for the Vegas Golden Knights. Maybe it's in regulation, but I feel like it's an overtime loss. So 1-1-1 for the Vegas Golden Knights. And on your fourth seed for the round robin, I think Dallas goes 0-3. My butt hurts some fucking Dallas fans, but I don't really have a lot of optimism when I'm watching the Dallas Stars. Just doing okay, but questionable. Although, yeah, I mean, you could say the same thing about the Vegas Golden Knights. So we'll see what happens in the Western Conference, kids. We shall definitely see what happens because, yeah, Vegas Golden Knights fan, definitely got to be vested into the fucking Western Conference and see who the fuck comes out and is going to be a potential enemy in the next round, right? But to determine the entire picture of the next round, we also got to talk about the Eastern Conference, kids. Of course we do. We got to talk about the Eastern Conference. And the first matchup, we have the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Montreal Canadiens. And for whatever reason, I have a weird fucking feeling the Canadiens pull out of this series 3-2, but Pittsburgh ultimately wins the number 1 overall pick and lands Alexander Lafreniere because that's just how life works. Edmonton got all those fucking picks. Yeah. Watch fucking Pittsburgh get Lafreniere on a fucking pandemic year, and every goddamn league fan lose their fucking minds, right? I mean, if the Knights won the cup on top of that shit, I think the NHL would implode. But I just have this fucking weird feeling that Pittsburgh, as good as they are, as amazing as Sid is, there's something just missing in that squad. And I might be the fucking idiot discounting them, but I just get this weird fucking feeling Pittsburgh is going to get the number 1 overall pick. Just when they had Sid, drafted years back, there was a fucking lockout before that year. So it was a wild, wild west of fucking number 1 overall pick. But this year, yeah, it is literally, hey, whoever fucks up the play-in, you get the number 1 overall pick. And I think Pittsburgh gets that shit. Magic. And everyone's going to say rigged, but no. It's called fuck luck and magic. Okay? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it fucking happens. But who the hell knows? But that's just a gut feeling that I got. And on the next matchup, my feeling is the New York Rangers taking on the Carolina Hurricanes, win the series 3-1. Something about the Rangers, despite how iffy their goaltending can be, is looking really solid. And I think as good as the Hurricanes have been, maybe they fall off a little bit. Maybe the Dougie Hamilton thing just doesn't work in their favor. But I got a feeling the Rangers eke out a good series win there. And the next matchup, you got another New York team in the Islanders taking on the Florida Panthers, and I say the Islanders sweep the Panthers 3-0. Barry Trotz, the mind game, the fucking disciplined goddamn style of play, and probably just taking Bobrovsky to the back of the fucking woodshed because Bobrovsky has just been absolutely an inconsistent problem for Florida. And I don't know if he's going to get better during the play-ins. He has to, but oof, I don't trust him. I don't trust the defensive situation down there in Florida. So my thinking is, yeah, I think the Islanders sweep 3-0. And the final matchup in the Eastern Conference play-in is the Toronto Maple Leafs taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets. And yes, I believe despite how well Tortorella coaches, Toronto ekes a clean series, tight series win, 3-2. And good Lord, I think they go ahead and, prove some people wrong, perhaps. Right? That's what I wish for Toronto. That's what I hope for Toronto. I don't have any animosity towards them, but they're one of the most fucking hated teams in the league. Which, yeah, and you kind of realize that a lot of the toxic fans come from the shit teams that haven't won. So you get that toxicity pretty solidly. But I'm generalizing. And making assumptions. That makes an ass out of you and me, motherfucker. That it does. But here's the thing. With round one, I have to go off of certain assumptions. Like seeding versus bracket will be based on highest versus lowest. So that's the assumption I'm going off of. And that's how I made the matchups for the respective Western Conference and Eastern Conference round one series. So brace yourself, kids, because I could be totally wrong on this shit, but this is just what I think is going to be the matchup, hopefully, in my opinion. And maybe these are the results, right? So let's start out with the first matchup here. The St. Louis Blues taking on the Arizona Coyotes, and I think St. Louis comfortably wins that series 4-1, where Arizona pulls out a win, maybe a good close series, all 5 games, but ultimately you have a St. Louis team just rearing and ready to go, back-to-back cup winners. Maybe they get a shot back at it. Who the hell knows? But I think St. Louis goes ahead and wins that series 4-1. Then you have the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Winnipeg Jets. And I say Colorado wins that 4-2. And you're going to have Connor Hellebuyck just being an absolute fucking animal. But I think the firepower from Colorado is going to be way too much for that Jets team to handle. And so we move on to the next series, which is the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Vancouver Canucks. Now, this is an interesting series if it happened. Pacific Division rivals, pretty testy, rivalry. Not a strong one like the San Jose Vegas ones, but I think Vegas still has the numbers on Vancouver, and I would say a 4-1 series win for the Vegas Golden Knights, maybe a 4-2 series win, but I definitely think Vegas can handle themselves in that situation against a Vancouver Canucks. Maybe if it's a team like, let's say Winnipeg, Arizona, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 games Vegas loses, but I think with Vancouver, not easier, but definitely more, I would say, easier to just fucking take the blow and cushion themselves. Which, I mean, yeah, it's still slating them, but that's just what I think against Vancouver with the Vegas Golden Knights. But the last matchup of the Western Conference round 1 series, we got the Dallas Stars taking on the Edmonton Oilers in a 7-game series where I believe Edmonton wins it. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, maybe Nugent Hopkins comes up big within that Game 7. And yeah, again, I just do not have a lot of strong confidence in Dallas, but we shall see. We shall see what happens in the Western Conference. So we move on into the Eastern Conference, where we have the Philadelphia Flyers taking on the Montreal Canadiens in a clean gentleman's sweep 4-0. Because I as much as Montreal, I believe, based on my whole fucking prediction here, lucks into winning against Pittsburgh, I think Philadelphia will get their shit buttoned up, take care of Montreal, no goddamn problem. Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the New York Rangers in the next series. I believe Tampa Bay takes that 4-2, but in a very unconvincing manner, as John Cooper's Lightnings always fucking do. But that's no discredit to the Rangers. I think they are going to show a lot of grit, a lot of fucking guts, and we're going to be very surprised as hockey fans how well this Rangers team does. I mean, all throughout the season, that's what we've been seeing. Zibanejad, Panarin, and even Georgiev in certain moments as a goaltender has been all right. So very interesting squad. And of course, I'm just skimming. I'm just fucking thinking, 1 or 2 players off the top of my head. But of course, there's depth in each and every squad, and I respect that. But again, basic casual knowledge, kids. So if you got a fucking problem, lay it out. But I don't really give a shit, right? Because once it's proven, then I'll admit it. But Again, educated guesses, educated guessing. It's a beautiful fucking thing, kids. Just like how I think if the Washington Capitals met up with Barry Trotz's New York Islanders, the results would be a tad bit different, where the Washington Capitals win the series 4-3. And yeah, Ovi is still Ovi. You got John Carlson, highest scoring defenseman in the season, I believe. And Holtby, good, not great, good. So he'll get you through. And I still think it's a close series, but Trotz will be a pest to talent-laden fucking Capitals team. So let's see what happens with that shit. And when you talk about shit, of course, we got to put the fucking banter series. We got to fucking put the banter series, kids. Boston versus Toronto. If Boston meets Toronto again in round one, again, I think this year, call me insane. Call me fucking insane. But I think this is the year. If Boston and Toronto met each other in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoff, Toronto wins the series 4-3. I don't want to explain that shit. I think it's finally fucking time. It's finally fucking time to beat the shit out of Boston, Toronto. Get your shit together, you fuckers. Unbelievable. What's also unbelievable is the potential matchups here that I have for round two, the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we'll start off with the Western Conference matchups here. The St. Louis Blues taking on the Edmonton Oilers. And yes, I think the Blues squeeze out the oil in the Oilers in that series 4-1. Yes, Connor McDavid. Yes, Leon Draisaitl. But again, against your back-to-back attempt to go for it, St. Louis Blues team, we'll have a lot to say about how Edmonton approaches things, and I think they can definitely figure their shit out. The St. Louis Blues team, just phenomenal stuff. What they've done all throughout the season, maintained their consistency in terms of greatness, and to maintain any sort of consistency after a Stanley Cup win is very difficult, as every team knows. I mean, unless you're the fucking Pittsburgh Penguins and you got to a fucking back-to-back cup within the last 5 years. But I digress. St. Louis Blues, I think, will be a very, very, very difficult opponent if they get matched up with the Edmonton Oilers. But the next matchup, I believe, if it happened into a series, I think it's going to be phenomenal. And yes, there is a bit of a personal bias here, and maybe it's a very incorrect assessment, but the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Vegas Golden Knights, I believe the Vegas Golden Knights will win that series 4-3. Now, lots of question marks if that series tied up together. Which goaltenders are starting? Who's in better form? Lehner or Fleury? Is Colorado's defense going to be able to match up against Vegas's kind of high string power first two lines in offense? I don't know. But for me, I think the series goes neck and neck, and Vegas ekes it out in Game 7. Maybe to just shit the demons away, right? To get their groove back into a conference final. And yeah, maybe it doesn't go that way. Hell, maybe they fucking get knocked out in round 1. But if that matchup happens in round 2, I take Vegas 4-3. And so let's move on into the Eastern Conference, where despite how much I hyped up the Toronto Maple Leafs, if they win against the Philadelphia Flyers in round 2, I believe they get swept. I don't know why I have this whole mentality here thinking, spoilers, Philadelphia Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup, but something about the way this team has kind of shined, something about the adversity this team has gone through throughout the season, something about going through, 11 goaltenders last season? I think all these scars and blemishes builds this team up, and they've just skyrocketed through pretty majestically, if I might say so myself. So if they get matched up with the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think Philadelphia Flyers are going to dominate that team, no problem. Where Toronto, if they beat Boston from the previous round, I don't think mentally they're mature enough to, digest that win and be satiated with it. Maybe a little bit too hype, maybe a little bit too over anxious, overplaying. And Philadelphia steps back, gets that shit trapped up, and sweep the shit out of the fucking Maple Leafs. I don't want that, but I think if they got matched up like that, that's what's going to happen. Now, the second matchup of the Eastern Conference Final, or Eastern Conference Round 2, I apologize, boys and girls, is the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Washington Capitals, and I believe the Capitals will win that series 4-1 because like I said, I think John Cooper is a fucking fraud as a head coach. I don't think as good as this fucking Tampa Bay Lightning's team has been for, 4 or 5 years. They always choke. They always choke at the worst moments, and I think against a more grizzled Washington Capitals team, again, talent-laden, it's going to be very difficult for them to pull out a win. And yeah, Vasilevsky, we've seen what happens if you've applied enough pressure, and good fucking Lord, you don't think Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and all those motherfuckers down there in Washington doing any of that shit? Come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. And yeah, John Cooper will prove to you again, ladies and gentlemen, that he is one of the most overrated fucking head coaches in the league. So, yeah, there you go. I don't trust Tampa Bay. I'd rather take Washington in that series, if anything. And that, boys and girls, will take us to the respective conference finals in the East and the West. But we'll start off with the Western Conference Finals here. Final. Plural, singular. Fuck you. English is a hard language. But what isn't hard is simple math. Like 4 is greater than 2, right? And I think the St. Louis Blues beat the Vegas Golden Knights in a 7-game series 4-2, which means they would win and proceed to the Stanley Cup Final. And again, you might think, oh, Vegas getting to this point, conference final seems like a bias. But again, I mean, if it's down to individual matchups, that's just what I think is going to happen. And definitely, this is where I look at my squad in the Vegas Golden Knights and see glaring weaknesses, like on defense, goaltending when it comes to Marc-Andre Fleury, specifically in the playoffs as of the last 2 years. Offense kind of going kaput within really solid defensive schemes, penalty kill units, and hell, even fucking power play units. So I give the edge to St. Louis, and I believe as Western Conference Final winners, St. Louis will then head over to the Stanley Cup Final. Then on the other side, you have the Eastern Conference Final, a matchup against the Philadelphia Flyers and the Washington Capitals. And I think this is going to be Philadelphia's toughest test, where they win the series 4-3. But Washington is going to claw and gnaw their way all the way through and try to do whatever the fuck they can to eke shit out. But I think Philadelphia has the grit, ironically, with that shithead gritty, to get themselves into the Stanley Cup Final, in which I believe a matchup between the St. Louis Blues and the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup Final 4-2, denying the St. Louis Blues a back-to-back Stanley Cup and winning themselves a Stanley Cup for the first time in 45 years, 46 years. I think 75 or 74 was the last time they won it. But if you had a Conn Smythe winner from Philadelphia, I would say Couturier or Carter Hart. But it's a long shot, man. It's a long shot for all teams. And the reason why I'm so excited and I'm so, stupidly proud of this fucking guessing thing is because we don't know what the fuck is going to happen. Because this whole fucking pandemic thing is unprecedented. It's unheard of, relatively speaking, in the way that it has caused all this collateral damage to sports ball. But now that we're getting all this shit back, this is the exciting unknown factor. the results and the battles that we're going to see all throughout the next few weeks, few months. It's going to be incredible stuff. So, boys and girls, ultimately, hockey is back. Hockey is back. And here's the thing. The first exhibition game for the NHL restart is going to be in a couple of hours. Puck drop will be in a couple of hours. And oh boy, it is going to be some fantastic stuff. And on the next episode of oh Jesus Christ, I can't fucking talk right now. On the next episode of the Sky Lounge, kids, because your boy is too fucking excited about sports returning, we are gonna keep the sports ball topics rolling all week long, most of this week. And tomorrow we're jumping from NHL to NFL, gonna preview every division, possibly break down playoff situations and Super Bowl winner, and we could definitely do that on one single board. Not a fucking problem, although the font is a bit too small, and we'll work on that shit a little bit, motherfuckers. But hey, I am back, and we're just gonna web blast sports up your ass all fucking week. So that's your warning for the next few days. All right, motherfuckers, I appreciate you dropping by this episode. Follow me at the Sky Lounge on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Music. And also check out the Sky Lounge on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Until next time, kids, fuck off.